Three, two, one, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Forest podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. This is our Bad Batch Monday, and today we're going to be talking about part one of the two-part season one finale, episode 15, Return to Kamino. And if we weren't already excited about this episode just with that title, it was like, oh, shit. So, first impressions, who wants to go first?
Fire, absolute fire. It was an epic episode. Totally loved it. The only thing that I did not enjoy about it was that we have to wait another week to see the conclusion of it. But yeah, like it was a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I just love like how that we started there, we're ending there. The whole season, it's almost like kind of poetic. So I always appreciate.
It's like
that.
poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah. The whole batch being back together, like that ideological fight, the big reveal, like I think everything was just perfectly paced. I guess like you said, like it's unfortunate we have to wait a week, but it's not that bad. We can let it digest. Plus, it might be the last time we got to see all the Kamino like labs and like so. It was a good homage to like close a whole era of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
maybe I'm okay with being a split.
So you can digest it before you have to deal with what happens at the end.
I can deal with, this is the last time we're gonna see Kamino. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, I thought the episode was really amazing. It really played at your heartstrings. There was something incredibly bittersweet about everything, really. I mean, the Omega having to come back to, Kamino, the place that was like she dreaded coming back, but she did it because she loves Hunter. The conversations between Crosshair and the Batch, and that they still consider themselves a family, but they've kind of come to an impasse about ideologies. Seeing Kamino, which is always so amazing because it's such a beautiful designed planet, and then to watch its destruction at the end, then accompanied by this fantastic soundtrack that by the end of it you're kind of like, oh wow, what just happened? So yeah, I think it was really, really solid episode.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. Like we've been mentioning in the past before in our other episodes. The writers for the show have done such a good job in such a limited amount of time to put in so much storytelling and character development and depth into it that it's kind of surprising that all of these episodes are 20 minutes because like it feels like there's just so much going on, but it's so efficient, right? Like in how that storytelling is done, that it's really, really impressive. But I don't know, this episode was, there were a couple of things. I mean, the episode as a whole, I really liked it, but there were a couple of things that happened in the episode that kind of, for me, highlighted some of the issues that the season has had. And it was two particular, I mean, let's just compliment sandwich, right? We said the good things. Now let's say some of the bad things before we get back to complimenting
the good stuff
again. Yeah. So let's just get all the quote unquote negative stuff out of the way. So again, like the blandness of the Imperial villain, right? Like that guy is just like he was menacing by destroying Kamino, but he was the proxy to Tarkin. So Tarkin's the one that say you may fire when ready. Obviously the homage to A New Hope, and he technically like he was the bad guy, right, giving the order to destroy Kamino. So in a way he overshadowed like that the main villain. So it's kind of like highlights how inconsistently they played up that Imperial threat through that character. So that was one thing. And the other thing is like Crosshair. Like I really found very interesting that conversation that Hunter and him were having about, him not having been rescued and the Batch not looking for it. I thought it was a really interesting conversation, but after it was done, I'm like, okay, wait, but the show didn't really set up that conflict in Crosshair. We didn't see him kind of have that discussion, that debate with himself of like, oh, my brothers, where are they? Why aren't they looking for me? So since it wasn't set up, I didn't feel that this was a good payoff in a way, because it's not paying off anything that that the season is addressing. So I was like, okay, well, why all of a sudden did you care about this if you haven't told us before that you cared about it? So it was kind of a weird in that sense for me. But obviously it's gonna be good now, like in the future, especially going into season 2, assuming that that everyone makes it out next week. But seeing that dynamic now between Crosshair and the Bad Batch, if he joins them or not. So, but those were kind of like the two things that kind of didn't quite click for me on the episode. I don't know if you guys had any disagree with that, but
well, I agree on the blandness of like the Imperial bad guy, because he is just not intimidating or threatening at all. I mean, he just isn't. Like the way the character was designed, the way the character speaks, like there's just nothing menacing about the character at all. It was just like, it was just a miss there. It was. But I kind of disagree with you on the whole Crosshair like reveal thing, because I know you had said before, and you called it pretty well, that there was going to be we were going to probably see this conflict of once he gets his chip removed, like, is he going to want to stay with the Bad Batch or not, or join the Empire or anything? And this time we were revealed that he hasn't had his chip for a while, and he did decide to join the Empire, which I thought was which I thought was actually really good. And Hosbando picked it up pretty quick when he first starts having the conversation with Hunter, and the way that he was expressing himself, like, they never leave anyone behind most of the time. Like he starts, kind of guilt tripping him that you've left me behind. I was always loyal to you. You weren't loyal to me. So that's when Hosbando was like, yeah, his chip probably started malfunctioning since like the fire incident, which I think is actually probably when it happened. Yeah. And I think it's this really interesting kind of take that obviously they don't spell it out for you, because you don't see all of the character development from Crosshair's side, because for a lot of the episodes we don't even get to see him, so we don't know what is going through his mind.
Exactly.
But what you can kind of take away from the conversations is that from his point of view, and obviously this is my take of it, I feel like that from his point of view, when they put the chip on him, and especially when they turned it on to like 11, he lost all his choices. And the Bad Batch is like, well, we didn't have a choice, we had to leave you because you were trying to kill us. And Crosshair's like, but did I have a choice in trying to kill you? And you still left me, you abandoned me. And then obviously he worked because of the chip for a while, and then when it malfunctioned, I think his reasoning was his identity is a soldier. So if it's the Empire or the Republic that he serves, that doesn't matter. That's completely inconsequential to him. I'm a soldier, then I follow the side that's winning, and that's the side that I'm going to support, and that's my identity. And he thinks that the Bad Batch are kind of letting themselves, go because, they're just wandering through the galaxy and not doing anything important. When the Batch, from their side, they're kind of trying to find a new identity within the changing world instead of like doubling down on it like Crosshair is doing. So I kind of love the conversation, and the fact that Crosshair seemed like really hurt about it, and he clearly does love them, because even though he thinks they're on the wrong side, he's still trying to get them on his side. So I don't know, that's just my little take on that. So I actually really enjoyed the relationship that's happening now between the Batch and Crosshair.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, well, yeah, I think it could have benefited a lot more if we've had that Crosshair background. But then granted, it's only a 20-minute episode. So it almost it was almost like that reveal to me was very important, because it also demonstrates a choice. Like, after, it kind of alluded to me, it kind of alluded like, we're superior soldiers. It was like very like SS kind of like the
SS as in Nazis, not the Suicide Squad, by the way.
which then again, that, I don't know, why would somebody, but it was also reminiscent the conversation of like Darth Vader and Luke kind of like join me, like we have power, we can overtake. It's also very naive from Crosshair, and it all, it all makes sense. Like they're still children at heart. Like they've been here for a few years. Like they just have like adult versions. So the way they look for, at least Crosshair and everybody, they're looking for their identity, just as Omega is, because they're growing. They're just adults and like when babies in adult faces. That's just it.
Right.
Like, just as Omega is. So seeing that was Crosshair's choice, like it's all based on like, oh, power, and like I'm special. I'm different. Like, no, you're just like, kind of like Hunter said, you're just a clone, and you're gonna be phased out eventually. Like the moment you're unuseful, like you're just gonna be phased out. There's nothing special about them except whatever is their own journey that they pick and choose. I'm also glad that they picked up a droid.
Yeah.
So I know Gunky like was there, but no, Gunky doesn't like have speak or have like that personality. So now the Bad Batch has a new member.
It's like the family is complete.
Yes.
Right. But you were mentioning like Omega and like the Bad Batch's development. I think one of the interesting twists that was mentioned, and like we almost got it, because I think we had discussed that maybe the Omega and the Bad Batch are the same age and were created at the same time. But according to the episode, she's older than them, and she actually was involved. Well, we don't know if she was involved, but at least she was there.
She was there
when they were
when
they were engineered. I think that was a really interesting twist on that, because it kind of shows another dimension to why she cares about them so much, because she's always been there with them, and they were made in the same place where she was made. So like there's like a lot of way more connective tissue between them than like we originally thought. So I thought that was like really, really cool in terms of how they further write that connection between them. Although, and we still might get to see it like in the final episode next week. I was still hoping for a bit more Omega reveals, especially like in terms of confirming or denying or whatever her
force
sensitivity or not.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if that's something though that, not looking back at the rest of the season, if that was kind of a red herring that was gonna place in the beginning, so that we were focusing on the different things instead of like what's happening now. But again, we'll see. And obviously we got season 2, so maybe that's something that'll be furthered in that season once Boba shows up, because Boba's got to show up, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna be this season, thankfully though. But we'll see. I do appreciate that they, despite like our theories last week, and despite what a lot of people think, and despite what has been kind of the norm for other Star Wars shows, that we didn't get the team up. I'm glad that Sid didn't. Well, we still might see it in the final episode, but I'm glad that they didn't like go around and picking up everyone that they've met throughout the season to make the super team, so that they can do the mission. So I was glad about that. I just kept it personal, just a batch, dealing with their internal struggle.
Yeah, and I think we should take a moment and be appreciative that we are gonna get a second season that is confirmed. So thank you. And double-edged sword, because now we're probably gonna get a horrible cliffhanger in the last episode that is just gonna make us wait a whole year for the next season, because it's gonna happen.
I hope.
I am also really appreciative that at least at the end of the episode, the batch is still together, because when Crosshair first told Hunter that, you have to let go of the kid, for her sake and for yours, I got horrible, like Mando Grogu PTSD. Like, do not take the kid away from her family again. Like, please just don't do this to me. Don't go down the same path. Yes. Thank you that it did not happen.
Yep.
So Yet.
We never
know.
Another big thing I think that the episode did that I thought was, I mean, that's been a consistent positive right throughout the whole season, but I think particularly in this episode, the music. The music in this episode was like so good, like the Kiner brothers and Kevin Kiner, which actually is a big question I have, because I know it's the Kiner brothers, which are the kids, which I think they're Kevin Kiner's kids that are doing the composition for the score, but it's still credited to Kevin Kiner. So like, I'm not sure what's happening there behind the scenes, but whatever, that's besides the point. The point is that the score was mind blowing, especially in that scene at the beginning when they land in the platform Kamino, and then the original John Williams score for the Kamino from episode 2 just blares up. I'm like, oh my God, it's just,
Well, and then the look of that scene, because when the platform comes up, it just looks like the abyss. And it's just like, it was so good. Like, there's been so many nods to like other films and stuff in the way that it looked.
Right.
And another one of my favorite music moments was when, the batch fights together for the first time with Crosshair, and then you get that crescendo of like the theme song, and you're just like,
yeah.
So
it felt it felt like a swashbuckling version of it, because it kind of reminded me of the pirate movies when everyone starts fighting, and very, very victorious version of the bash theme. That was very rousing, and again, like a victorious nod of how to compose the music there. So I don't know, I've been very happy with the music. It's been striking a good balance between honoring the John Williams stuff from the movie, but also infusing it with its own identity, which can't speak highly enough, right, for what the Kiners have been doing in terms of their musical gifts for the world of Star Wars.
It's been fantastic, really.
Between them and the animators, Disney, give them a raise.
Yes, give them a raise, give them a bonus, give them more shows, do everything.
The animation always exceeds expectations. Kamino, to begin with, is an awesome looking planet, but this time you had like the extra lightning and everything. The ambience about it was great.
Extremely ominous.
Very, and the action was very well animated, and then you get this, because we have to talk about it. I mean, this is the end of Kamino, and Kamino was, to me, one of the highlights of Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones. I'm sorry, a movie that I did not enjoy that much, but always the Kamino arc, I always really, really enjoyed. Aside from the way that the planet looks amazing, I always loved that kind of the creation of a secret army kind of thing. And this time you see Kamino was always like a hub of activity. And then you see it as it starts like to be decommissioned. Like, there's no clones. Why are there no clone troopers? The only one there is Crosshair. You just have some, of the earlier versions of the stormtroopers there. Right. And then slowly as the episode goes on, it gets emptier and emptier till that scene right before the end where it's completely empty. And you get to see like the cloning pods and everything. Just like, it was so surreal to see it.
It was so like, reverent, right? It was reverent and sad. It was like all those stills of like all the different places, right, in the facility that we've grown to love. It was like so heartbreaking but respectful at the same time. It's like, hey, here's like that final, the final hurrah, right, visually of this before we sink it to the bottom of the fucking ocean.
Yeah. And then you get that scene, and suddenly you get the looming Imperial destroyers like coming in like through the clouds and the lightning and everything, and it's like fire, and then you just see it all light up like a firecracker, and they show you like specific areas of destruction, and it's like, why are you doing this to Kamino?
Like, oh my God.
And like you were saying, we knew it was coming, but to actually see it happen is just something else.
It's like exactly, it's like in The Force Awakens, we knew Han Solo was gonna die, but like you expect it, but the moment it happens, it's like you can be ready, but you're not really ready, and when it happens, it's still gut wrenching. So it was
just like Rogue One when they're gonna just blast the planet,
it's coming. But it's still like you're still like grabbing the edge of the seat.
Please,
oh my God,
they can do
it. And then we have again a fantastic score accompanying the destruction of Kamino. So it's very evocative of and now the the batch is basically trapped in a getting destroyed Kamino. So we have no idea what's gonna happen. I'm hoping they'll make it out
in 1 week. In 1 week, we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure there's some underwater facility thing, like the one that's connected to the pods that Omega brought the batch in. So something like that has to happen.
Omega said there were like other tubes that connected the cities and stuff. So they're probably gonna find it. But I am actually really glad that they took Crosshair with them. You know, it kind of made, because I think that Hunter really did feel it, that he did abandon him. Like in the moment, he thought, oh, you know, he's trying to kill us, so we have to get away, and we just have to take off the chip, and that will solve everything. And he just realized that it doesn't. He has made his own choices, but you know, he's still part of the squad. So I'm really glad that they didn't leave him behind. And then obviously now he has to decide what he's going to do. But at this point, at least this time, it's going to be about a choice, not because he was like abandoned by his family. So, so I think that was a good little thing to do.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see. I mean, I think it's a kids show, so I think the odds are in favor of Crosshair learning the error of his ways and rejoining the batch. But we shall see. But one thing I definitely do want to see, and this is like kind of jumping ahead now to season 2, is like if and when Crosshair rejoins the batch, I want Omega to get her own armor, and she needs to have her batch armor for season 2.
I agree.
None of this, like she's part of the family. The batch is together. She deserves her own armor. So make it happen, Hunter. Go to I don't know. Go to Babies R Us or wherever, a space version of it, and get her armor. She deserves it.
I mean, look at the whole scene on the rain. Like they were all protected, and Omega was just like drenched and like cold.
Although I did love that little nod to the animators there, like her wet hair.
The wet hair.
The animation was
great.
so good. Yeah, it was fantastic. But yeah, she's all drenched and she doesn't really have any sort of protection. Like she needs her own little suit.
No,
she's part of the batch now.
She better get a Beskar one too. You know, like a tiny Beskar one.
Yeah, maybe she can call her brother and call Boba and like, hey, hook me up with some sweet Beskar.
Hey,
and then she'll have better armor than the batch.
She was the girl with the plan. If it wasn't for her, they probably wouldn't have been able to save Hunter, because she's the one that knew about the platform and the secret tube and everything. They wouldn't have gotten through. They would have been trapped too from the beginning. So Omega showing off her skills every single time.
Every single time. Yep.
But anyway, MVP definitely. But I think with that we covered most of the episode. What do you both think?
Yeah, I think now it's just that
the waiting
week-long anxiety, of just waiting for the end. And so we just got our Infinity War. Now we are going to wait for Endgame. But thankfully, we don't have to wait a year in between. It's just a week. So I'm sure we can do it.
Do it.
So really looking forward to it. This episode really exceeded my expectations, actually. So we're going to wait and see what they do with the finale. So join us next week when we talk about the end of season 1 of Bad Batch. We are Triad of the Force. Look for us on Twitter, on Instagram, anywhere that podcast can be found. Just search for Triad of the Force. We have Submerged, like,
this one.
subscribe.
This is from our friends, but
so not to Pink Bilk, by the way. They made some awesome t-shirts too. Yeah.
Also buy this stuff.
But if you buy their stuff, buy ours as well.
You better clarify that, right? Anyway, thank you for joining us. We are Triad of the Force. May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.